Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Hi everybody, happy Wednesday. It's so great to have you here to listen to another podcast episode, and today I'm going to share with you a chapter from my book, which is called Manifesting Made Simple, a practical guide illustrated with real life examples, because I think that this is going to be really helpful for you to listen to. So basically what I'm going to do is read this out, and we're going to listen to a manifesting story for me with my private practice. Some of it you will have heard before, some of it not. And then we're going to round it off with some strategies and some tools that you can implement to start applying to your private practice and get some new and exciting results yourself. The reason that I've decided to do the podcast this way today is because I was sharing in my group, the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship on Facebook, that over the last 10 days, I've been able to manifest some really exciting things. I've got new contracts, new retainers, new clients, new celebrity client, all this sort of stuff is happening. And I just felt, sometimes you just stop, don't you? And you take stock and you think, what's happened for me in my business over the last week or over the last 2 weeks? And I've been working a lot more closely over the last maybe 2 months now with my manifesting tools. I do a lot of work with the moon and manifestation. It's another story I'll tell you about later, but was in this process of reflection recently with the new moon that I realized how much I'd actually been able to call in. And it was as a result of doing a lot of this manifestation with the moon cycles. And so when I had written out this list, I couldn't believe it. And so, of course, I just jumped straight in to share it with my group, because I wanted to show them what's possible when they try this sort of stuff, when they try something new. And anyway, of course, everybody's really excited, and I want to share with them how I did it. And so I thought what I could do with you guys today is share how I did it in the past. And if it's something that inspires you or excites you or you want to try, then of course you're absolutely welcome to come into the mentorship group as well. It's just $1 for your first month. If you love it, stay, fantastic. If you don't, you can leave, but at least you can come along and have a look at some of the tools that are in there. And there are actually 13 learning units that have all sorts of things in there, from manifesting money mindset, manifesting for clients, client attraction, all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I digress. So I'm going to read. So it's not going to sound like I've got my talking voice. You're going to hear my reading voice. It should be, I'm sure, a novel experience, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so as a law of attraction coach, one of the frustrations I often hear from my clients is that it's not working. If only they understood that the law of attraction is always working, that it's impossible for it not to be, because it happens to be a law. What people usually mean, though, is that they're not seeing the results that they want, or they're not seeing those results soon enough. And there's a reason for this. I remember when I first began learning about the law of attraction and how quickly obsessed I became with it. It seemed to me that every spare moment in the day was happily spent devouring any and every resource on the topic that was available. In seemingly no time at all, it became apparent that to create my reality, some work was going to be involved, and that there was in fact no magic wand in sight. Part of manifesting is the practice, and actually, for me, it's been a huge part. Now, practice doesn't necessarily mean that you need a whole lot of things for a whole lot of time every single day. It just means that, as with anything, you need to give it time and attention and attention on a regular basis. During my initiation into the field, there are many different things that I tried before I found the process that was the best fit for me. What I do now is I use my travel time to work each morning to work on my manifesting. That's right, you've heard me say it before, guys. I hop in the car, I grab a coffee, I turn on some high vibe music to put me in a really good mood, make me happy and bouncy. And then what I'm feeling like the moment is just right, I turn the music off completely, usually just by yanking the USB cable from the stereo out. And I say out loud, "Good morning, universe, it's me, Brooklyn," before I chat away about all of the awesome things that happened to me the day before, giving thanks for them too. Then I say out loud all of the things I'm thankful for right now. Like, I'm thankful for my hot coffee. I'm thankful for petrol in the car. I'm thankful for the car. I'm thankful for my amazing practice, my amazing clients, and things like that. And I say them really quickly. And it's like I can really feel my mood lifting. And I realize I'm smiling. And then right at the end, I'll throw in my intention and say a very big thank you for that too, as if it's already happened. And then I put the music back on and I just go about my day. However, that's the key right there. It doesn't matter what you do each day. The point is that you need to do something each day and it's got to be consistent and it needs to feel really good by raising your vibration, because then it will become a really good match for the thing that you're trying to call in. It took a while before I realized that what I was able to create was in fact a morning routine, and I only found out about those kinds of things by reading and studying a lot. There are so many ways that people can begin their day. For example, you might stay in bed just after you've woken up and you might just take a moment then to be grateful, or take a couple of moments to visualize your goal or intention for the day. You could listen to music in the shower. You might make yourself a really healthy smoothie. You might get up a little bit earlier than usual so you can journal about how you want the day to go. It's really your call, what you do in the morning and in the evening for that matter. And my best guidance is for you to try a few different things and just see what you feel most comfortable with and what you'd be the most happy to do every day. Okay. And you might even change that routine after a while. I do. I've got a routine at the morning where, I stay in bed. Look, I set the alarm for 7:10. Now I set it for 7. And I do a meditation till 7:24. How precise is that? Can you tell I'm a Virgo? Okay, so I do that to 7:24 exactly. And then I'll get up, I'll go and turn on my coffee pot. I've got a percolator that I love. I set it up the night before, so all I've got to do in the morning is just tiptoe out my bare feet, turn it on. Then I go into my lounge room where I've set up a sacred space, and I light my incense and I light my tea light candle, and I get my journal out. I do a quick body scan. And then I'll ask myself my journal prompts that I've already shared with you in a previous episode. I'll do an oracle card draw for myself to help me set my intention for the day or my focus for the day. That's like, and then I finish it up by saying thank you. That's it. And that whole routine probably takes from 7 a.m. to about 7:30 a.m., half an hour. But it really has been helping, and I credit this routine in part and nightly meditation to being able to call in some of the results that I've called in over the last 2 weeks. It's another story I'll tell you in a minute. So there's something else that you need to know about that can affect your manifesting work, and it's that little voice inside your head called ego that says, "This is ridiculous, Brooklyn, this is never going to work." Or it says something along those lines. Maybe you've set yourself a goal to call in a certain amount of money by a particular date, and you're following the advice of not worrying about the how too much, and you're being really mindful of not getting caught up in the hustle, which is why you would have done pre-law of attraction, right? It's difficult in a way, and your mind says, hey, come on now, if you don't get off your butt and do something, you're not going to make any money. And what ends up happening is that the deadline comes, and guess what? You haven't manifested any money, and then you say, see, I knew this was not going to work. So what's happened here is that your mind has given more importance to a limiting belief than to your goal. And so the limiting belief has in effect, one. So to prevent this from happening in the future, spend time looking at the beliefs that you hold around money or manifesting and work through them, okay? And I've given you some prompts in previous episodes on money mindset that you might want to work through, so you can go back and find those, download those. you might be able to create new or updated versions of those beliefs and turn them into even a powerful affirmation. It's worthwhile spending a moment reflecting on the law of divine timing too, because this can reassure you that you are on the right path. Of course, it will require you to trust and surrender in the process, which is, very right brain. It's, kind of letting go or loosening your grip on control. But basically, this law of divine timing generally implies that the universe has heard your intention and has set about bringing it to you. However, we need to be mindful that the universe needs to balance out a lot of other things all at the same time in order to make your dream a reality. Okay, so there's a lot of reorganizing that's happening behind the scenes that you don't even know about. Kind of like, how I was going to say, how we're all in ISO, but we're not. I think it's only Victoria that is. We're still only allowed out. Can you believe today it's the 21st of October. We're still only allowed out of the house for 2 hours. Isn't that? Anyway, where was I going with this? Right. So I'm doing a lot of online shopping at the moment, and I tend to favor things like Book Depository and Booktopia. And so when I place an order for a book there, I place the order online, I see the book, I put it in my shopping cart, I go through PayPal, I pay for the book, and then I forget about it, okay? I just let it go. I'm really excited in the moment that I'm, buying it. I'm really excited. I'm G'd up. I'm in a high vibration because I'm excited about this book. Because I don't know, is it just me or do books always feel like a bit of a treat? I'm like, if it's not an academic book, it feels a bit naughty and like maybe I shouldn't be buying it. That's what 14 years at university and a PhD will do to you. But anyway, I still think it's a bit naughty to buy books that aren't academic. So I get a real kick out of purchasing these books. But once I've made that payment, I forget about it. I let it go. What's happening is there's a whole lot going on behind the scenes. Somebody's got to receive that order. Someone has to find the book or print the book or order the book in from another wholesaler or something like that. Then somebody else has to wrap it up. Somebody's got to put it in an envelope. Someone's got to stick the label on it. Someone's got to come and pick it up so it can be posted to me. And, a courier guy's got to come around to my house. Do you know what I mean? There's all this stuff I don't see that's happening behind the scenes. And it's exactly the same when you're manifesting. Okay, you only get to see a little bit that you can see, but there's lots happening behind the scenes. So if you're not getting the result that you want yet, that's okay. It might just be a bit of a delay. You've got to remember that there's a time difference, there's a time lag between you placing your order and it showing up. You're not going to get the result on the spot, all right? And that's okay. Another reason that you may not be manifesting as quickly or you might not be getting the things that you want is perhaps because of, the green-eyed monster, also known as jealousy. One of my clients that I was working with a few years ago had set the intention that she wanted to manifest a new team member for her private practice. So she was applying the tools and techniques that we'd discussed, and she was checking in with me most days, and overall she was doing a really fantastic job, and I was so excited for her, and admittedly I couldn't wait to meet this new team member too. One day she sends me a message and immediately I knew she was upset about something. Okay, it was probably the sad emoji with the tears that was a giveaway too. So I quickly phoned her and she spoke really softly and gently and I could barely understand what she was talking about. And then she began crying and blurted out that a colleague of hers, another psychologist, had only just advertised for a new contractor and had hired one. And now the psychologist in me felt immediate empathy for her, and I wanted to provide her with words that would soothe her and calm her. But then the law of attraction coaching me was just delighted for her colleague and couldn't understand why my client was so upset. I asked her why she was upset, and so she tells me that it's not fair. How come she can get someone but I can't? I've tried everything, Brooklyn. I'm hopeless at hiring contractors. I'll never find anyone. Why is this happening to me? And I could see that she was really upset, and we discussed things, and she said that she had envy and jealousy. Okay, so here's the thing about jealousy and envy. It sends out a message that you're lacking something. Okay, when you do that, what do you think happens? Think about the law of attraction, right? The basic law of attraction says whatever you send out, you're going to receive back. So if you're sending out the vibe that it doesn't work for you and you're no good at it and you're never going to find the right team member, you can have all the strategy in the world. You can keep putting ads on Seek, you can keep putting ads on Indeed, and you're either going to get candidates that aren't suitable or you're going to get crickets. And all that's going to do is reaffirm this belief that you've got that you're not good at it, right? You're putting out the energy there, and that universe is going to send it right back to you. So what should you do when those feelings of envy or jealousy come up? Because they're going to come up in your practice at some point. You're either going to be looking and comparing yourself to somebody else, or comparing their practice to your practice, or something like it happens, okay? And that's all right. It's all right. And it doesn't make you a bad person or anything like that. We just need to understand it so that you can move through it, okay? So recognize that the universe has heard what you want, and it's showing you that your turn is coming, right? Now, this is something that when I was first learning about manifesting, was really, 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 really helpful to me. There were times too where I was trying to manifest things and a girlfriend would get them and she wasn't even trying. And I would think, why isn't this happening for me? What am I doing wrong? She's not even into manifesting and it's happening for her. But what I understand now is that sometimes the universe will show you what you want by giving it to somebody else in your circle as a way of showing you that, yes, I've seen you, I've heard you, I'm doing it, it's coming, it's on its way, all right? Sometimes something else happens though, which is where maybe you will get something that's like 80% what you asked for, but not 100%. And that's because the universe is saying you weren't clear enough about what you wanted. So the universe has heard what you wanted, but you weren't quite clear enough, okay? Or the intention wasn't strong enough or something like that. So it's kind of picked up the general gist of what you were going for and it's brought back what it thinks you wanted. So all you do then is you say, oh, okay, this does work. I just need to be more clear. Be more clear. Do it again. Just rinse and repeat. Go through your manifesting practices again and you'll get it. It's not a problem. Okay. Now, where was I? Okay. You have to remember that the universe is limitless. And so if something happens for somebody else, it can happen for you too, because, bless me, because you are not different. You are only different if you see yourself as distinct. So, as you know, before I had a private practice where clients paid fees to see me. I spent nearly 20 years working for Medicare rebates only, which meant clients didn't pay me a cent from their own pocket. And that was just how I chose to operate my practice then. That was fine. But one day I stumbled across other psychologists on Facebook and I heard they're all charging fees. I wasn't overly shocked or surprised because I did know that there were psychologists that were doing that. I was surprised though when people started suggesting that I charge fees. Holy cow, I nearly died on the inside when somebody suggested it to me. And I thought, there's no way anyone would ever pay me for services. I'll lose all of my clients if I begin to charge them a fee. I could just imagine there'll be a mass exodus of clients and I'll be broke. And then I thought, am I even good enough to charge a fee? And all those sorts of things went through my mind. And so it required a lot of work for me to realize what was going on. Was that I held a belief that others were worthy and I wasn't. So that's what happened. I was treated really poorly by colleagues, poorly by practice managers, and poorly by some people that came to the practice for help. It was a massive fear that I wanted to overcome. And I remember it like it was yesterday when I announced that I was introducing a fee. It felt really good to say it out loud, but there was also some apprehension within me. I was wondering how people would react. I was anticipating that people were going to be mad at me. And what happened was, because I was working in a bulk billing clinic, the practice manager told me that it wasn't fair for me to charge a fee when clients came for appointments. They were always excused from having to pay my fee. And so then I believed that I wasn't worth it. In fact, the practice manager said to me, if the doctors aren't charging a fee, what makes you think you're good enough to charge one? Are you saying you're better than a doctor? So I tried and I failed, and the world had given me the message I feared the most. It was a horrible feeling to think I wasn't worth a fee, and it didn't take long before I went back to not charging fees. It was a huge mistake, but anyway, I digress. The other thing that happened at the same clinic was that the management there would also process pay for contractors, myself included, because I was a contractor, and I never used to check it. The fee was just sent into my bank account and I never once received a pay slip. One day I thought, I wonder what I'm getting paid for. And I asked if there was a way I could be provided with the details of which patients I'd been paid for working with. It took ages and ages and ages, and I had to ask many, many times. And it seemed to me that the more management delayed giving me this information, the more determined I became to demand it. Eventually, I was provided with a list of client names and the amount I'd been paid for, and I went back to my room, pulled up the diary on the computer so that I could cross-reference my sheet with my calendar, and guess what? I found so many discrepancies, it was ridiculous. If you've ever done anything like painting or cleaning or tidying up, you'll know what I mean when I say to you that it was just like when I thought I was through, there was another spot that needed my attention, and then another and another. This went on, and the result was that management had withheld over $18,000 of my pay. I was in shock. So I had to check it and then double check it, and then I got somebody else to check it for me, and then I hired a forensic accountant to check it for me, and everybody confirmed it was $18,000 that had been withheld by the practice and not transferred to me. Feeling angry and cheated, I approached management and asked for my money. They fluffed around for months and persisted, and to cut a long story short, I never received it. That was when I knew 100% I had to get out of there. And this meant that I had to start my own private practice away from working in a medical clinic. Suddenly I realized that because I held a view that I wasn't worthy of being paid, I was manifesting people who didn't want to pay, and I was manifesting situations where I was being paid but not receiving the amount of money that I was entitled to. Opening the new practice was really challenging for me because I was away from an evergreen flow of referrals provided by Bulk Bully Medical Clinic, and in no time at all I realized that I knew nothing about how to run an actual business. As a psychologist, no problem. Love doing the job, but just as I said, clueless about operating a business because I just don't teach you that bit about how to run a business when you're in university. So guess what happened? To get work and build my practice, I marketed myself as bulk billing, free to clients. And then I got swamped very quickly. I had a waiting list in the space of a few weeks. I was renting a small little room in a service department building, and it had a really small desk and 3 chairs with a filing cabinet and a really little coffee table. The room was honestly the size of a really, 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 really small bathroom. While I'd be in a therapy session, my phone would ring and ring and ring. And although I muted the ringer, the little red light that flashed to notify me of a call would light up the room like a disco and was a huge distraction, even when I tried to cover it with a lot of post-it notes. But that's not the most annoying thing. The most annoying thing was that I was so busy and I was in back-to-back sessions, which was great, but it also meant I was unable to return calls during business hours much of the time. When I did get to listen to my voicemails, it would take almost an hour or more to go through them, and the messages would usually start really nicely and politely, and then the callers would leave increasingly angry messages with me about why I hadn't picked up their call from earlier in the day. Abusive calls mostly. I started to leave the office in tears and wonder why I ever left the security of the Bulk Bully Medical Clinic. One day, another psychologist mentioned to me that they used something called virtual reception. I listened as she explained that the VR team handled calls, payments, diary bookings, and more. It sounded perfect, but I didn't know if I could afford it. Sitting in my new office the next day, acutely aware of the red light illuminating every nook and cranny in the small little suite, I decided to take the plunge and hire a VA. The next day, it had happened. All my calls were now being diverted to an organisation that was handling them for me. And it was so weird sitting in that little room and not seeing the light or hearing the phone ring its little heart out. It was then that I began to realise that maybe I could after all run a business, and maybe I could after all charge a fee. It was just an idea at this stage, but it had begun to seed and take hold. A month or so later, I was at a workshop and somebody asked what everybody else's hourly rate was. She wrote it down on a piece of paper. One by one, we went around the table and all of the psychologists in the room said their rate out loud. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. People were saying things like, 170, 185, 220, 210. And when it was my turn, I said 84. It was so embarrassing. And people in the room spun around to look at me like they must have misheard me or something. It was horrible. However, part of me wanted to know how they were all doing it and, in my mind, getting away with it. See my thinking? How bad was that? Over the break, I began talking with a few of them and they told me that they've always charged a fee. I said, wow, you're so lucky. There's no way I could ever charge a fee in my area. Only to hear that a bunch of them were from my area and charging a heck of a lot more than I was. And people were paying it. I mean, these guys had successful practices. This was both encouraging and very anxiety inducing to hear. Encouraging because it made me see it is possible, but anxiety inducing as a result of the memories of the last time I attempted to induce a fee was really traumatizing. However, all of this talk got me thinking more about my beliefs and I knew I needed to make a change. So that's what I did. I created a brand new marketing campaign advising my referrers of the fee. And do you know what happened? I lost nearly 75% of my referrers and my referrals took a nosedive. It was terrifying. I can't tell you how much sleep I lost. One GP even attempted to blackmail me. It was horrible and soul destroying. Then I just thought to myself, you're going to get through this. It's going to be fine. And I decided to let my good work and my good results be my advertising. And guess what? In a matter of a few short weeks, maybe about 4 weeks, it was about a month, my diary began building again to a healthy level where I wasn't killing myself by working such long hours anymore either. Over time, as my confidence grew, I increased my fees and now my fees are on par with other practitioners working in my field, in my location, and it feels amazing. That's where I was back then. Now my fee is more and I don't work as a psychologist. I'm charging more than I have in the past and I'm not working as a psychologist. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to see from my experience how I created that whole situation with the money right from the beginning by focusing on my limiting beliefs. But back then, you got to remember, I didn't understand about law of attraction. I hadn't heard much about manifesting, okay? I can see all of that now. And it's glaringly obvious that I manifested all of that drama with the money, okay? I can see that. And now I understand how law of attraction works. I'm so much more at ease charging fees and calling in the right clients. I absolutely know the work that I do is more than worth it. And I respect myself now. Okay, I value myself now. I think I'm good enough now. I think I'm worthy enough now. Value my work now. And I'm now attracting clients that respect me and value me and think I'm worth it too. So maybe you've had a time in your life where your limiting beliefs created a reality that you didn't want to. Okay, the good thing is that when you change your beliefs, you change your world. You get to define the vision of the future that you really want to have for yourself and not be defined by the past. And I love that. So I guess the takeaway from today is to find the tools that are going to work for you and practice them daily. Know your mindset. Be aware that you have blind spots. And by definition, you're probably not going to be able to see those blind spots. You might need somebody else to help you see them, point them out, and get you moving in the right direction. Appreciate that timing plays a role in manifesting, and there's a reason why it's not happening now. And that reason is actually for your benefit. Allow yourself to trust in the process, just like you trust when you place an order with Uber Eats or Book Depository or Amazon. You know it's coming. And you just have to be patient and wait, get on with life in the meantime. And celebrate the success of others because it's a sign from the universe that this is possible. If it's possible for them, it's possible for you too. So an exercise that you might want to try is to think about a time you felt envious recently and allow yourself to perhaps sit comfortably, grab your favorite pen and notebook, light a candle, because you're going to allow yourself some space to look at the positives in their success. For example, we'd say that when others are successful, it's a sign that we can be too, because we know if they can, then we can. And we know that because you see it. It's in your reality as a result of your internal state. To bring your success into the present, we need to also tweak a few of your beliefs. That's all. So you can use this time to reflect and write out what it means to you that that person was successful and what you believe about their success. And also think about journaling on what you believe about your success. What does success mean to you? How will you know when you're successful? What does success feel like? Okay? So these are just some basic steps for manifesting. And if you're in private practice and you're a woman who's also interested in understanding how to marry up the business with nature's cycles, and I'm talking about the moon here, we do have a program called Moonworks, Manifesting with the Moon in Private Practice, and it's going to be available for you to enroll in the next couple of weeks. I'll put a link in the comments. If you're a podcast listener, you will be able to access the course for half off. If you're in the Private Practice Mentorship group, you'll also be able to access the course for half off. Everybody else will have to pay the normal price. You also get support from a community in there, but I can put the details in the show notes so you can go and check it out. I hope that you found this episode really helpful, and I can't wait to see you on Saturday for the next podcast episode. Yay! All right, guys, have a beautiful rest of the day. I'll talk with you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.